I'm going to take a walk. Turns out that right now, literally right now, is a solar eclipse. And the sun is something like 80% eclipsed, which is enough to change the light, but not completely change it. So what I thought I'd do is take a walk in this beautiful fall day and tell you a story. So let me flip the camera around here. Here we go. So the story I'm going to tell is what I think of as a standing wave. I think that there are experiences in one's life that repeat in a sense, and that those experiences are like standing waves. So when I was young, we lived in a middle-class neighborhood called Redford in Detroit, Michigan. And we had friends who every summer would go camp on some of Michigan's hundreds of lakes. And when I was 9, I think, some friends invited me to camp with them on a lake in the summer. I remember the lake was probably 300 yards wide and probably 1,000 yards long. And I remember the bunkhouse that we were staying in, or at least the kids were staying in. There wasn't that many kids. One night, one of my friends brought out some pot. And this was my very first experience. I don't exactly remember how much I inhaled, but the story is weird enough that I probably inhaled some. Anyway, it was a warm summer night, and it was raining. And I mean really raining. And you could go out by the edge of the lake to the areas that were not beach. The beach was actually quite small. And you could hear and see huge frogs doing their ribbit. And we had ourselves a flashlight, and we noted that we could shine a flashlight on them, and that we could catch them And these frogs were big enough that they could fill your entire hand. And after we had kind of disturbed all the frogs along the edge of the lake there, we decided, oh man, I know what we're gonna do. We're going to get into one of the aluminum rowboats. And we were going to sneak up on the frogs along the edge of the lake. And there were these huge, I remember there were these huge areas of lily pads by the edge of the lake. And the idea was that, oh man, if we could just get away from the shore, we would be able to sneak up on these frogs and shine a light and catch them. Now, mind you, it was dark. The kind of dark that really sort of only happens when it's raining and you're out away from the lights. The problem was that the aluminum rowboats had no oars. The adults had figured, for safety's sake, perhaps they had better put the oars away in a boathouse. Well, that didn't really stop us. We decided that we would get in this boat and pole it along using a boat hook, probably 10 feet long, maybe. Anyway, so we got in the boat, and it was raining quite hard, and we decided to push ourselves along the lake. And that's what we did for a while, except that the wind began to come up. And we lost the ability to touch the bottom. And the wind was blowing the length of the lake. And my friend and I were just along for the ride. So, I don't know what time it was. Well dark, I could say that. And we drifted all the way down to the end of the lake. And then we got snagged on the lily pads that were probably 30 yards out from the very end. And so we were both scared. We were both crazy scared. But I jumped out of the boat and dragged the boat through the lily pads, and we got the boat up onto the shore. Now, both of us were looking at one another, thinking, oh my God, what have we done? We walked through the woods at the very end of the lake and discovered that there was a road. And we began walking the road, and someone came along in a pickup truck and noticed two young boys walking in the deepest rain you can imagine. And we explained what had happened, and he said, oh, okay. So he and we threw the boat in his pickup truck, and he drove us all the way back to the camp. You know, I think about that. I started out the story by saying that that this is a kind of standing wave, a thing, a meme that repeats itself in my life. I have another story that I'll share at a later time, but it also involves being altered and walking around in the muck, stabbing frogs. Anyway, you guys take it easy. Bye-bye.